Gotham Knights has recently gone up on PS Plus Extra. The spiritual successor to the Arkham trilogy focuses on the extended members of the Bat family as they try to solve Bruce Wayne's final case.
I'm dead.
Met with critical and player backlash on release, I went and earned the Gotham Knights Platinum Trophy to find out if it's worth your time and effort or if it should just die harder than Batman's mum and dad. We will take a look at the game's release, delays and overhaul, the mind-drainingly dull and repetitive free DLC, how boosting Gotham Knights is key to enjoying it, and the fact that you never ever get to play as the Dark Knight himself. It took me 3 attempts and 6 months to earn this Platinum Trophy. Why, you ask? Well, here is everything you need to know before you try and Platinum Gotham Knights. So let's go! Your first choice is to pick your character, which can be changed at any time. I, of course, chose my all-time favourite Batman character, Jason Todd, or you may know him as the Red Hood. But I got it going eventually, only to find out that the critics were absolutely right, and the gameplay and mechanics are clunky, janky, and not at all fun. At least in the early stages of the game. The simple story starts very interestingly, and although the overall narrative isn't that big or complex, it does feel like a solid introduction to the wider Bat family, like Babs, Jay, and Tim. Tim, who, for whatever fucking reason, is dressed up as Damian, who doesn't even exist in this universe, despite his mother being the fucking antagonist of the game. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you have Talia as the lead villain and not have her son as one of the protagonists? Feels like a really poor narrative decision, that one. But oh well. After some faffing around and investigating the murder of Kirk Langstrom, I found my way back to the Belfry, our base of operations. And then I lost all interest. The rigid and boring combat, the annoyingly slow bat bikes, and the fact they turned my beloved Jaybird into the game's tank just sat wrong with me. I popped one pathetic trophy before losing interest, getting distracted, and switching my attentions to Arcadegeddon and my Mind-Laden training, which we will discuss in a future video. But for now, my time with the Bat Kids was over. Attempt 2. The second attempt was over 4 months later, and only because Platinum Bro enthusiastically convinced me it would be much more fun in co-op, and my god was he right. The difference in how much I enjoyed it in co-op cannot be understated. The experience was entirely different. I returned to the game with no hopes or expectations of it being an Arkham quality game, but with an acceptance of just having to do it. A platinum for the sake of a platinum. Maybe that was the biggest difference, how I felt about the game as I started it, not putting pressure on the game to match the sky-high levels the fabled Arkham trilogy had reached. Playing in co-op makes up for what the game lacks. In places, the dialogue between characters can be great. It's almost on par with Guardians of the Galaxy's delightful banter, but these spurts of witty exchanges are few and far between. Luckily, Plat Bro and I have ground out quite a few epic trophies together, and we know how to entertain each other. Again, the least attractive Harley I've seen in years.
Still would though.
Although she's got a choker on, so she likes anal. Multiplayer doesn't make the game any easier or harder, but it does increase your immersion. Working in tandem with a friend makes the most of what the game has to offer, while covering up cracks of what it lacks. 8 case files or missions later and the story is complete. With a horde of trophies earned, playing together, I think the story took somewhere between 7 and 10 hours. Although it didn't feel like that, if I'm honest. It felt a lot shorter because we did have a good time together. Nothing overly complex and nothing at all difficult so far. The story is pretty well told but won't be winning any awards. It's a simple introduction to the extended cast of Batman's Gotham City. As a lifelong comic book reader and DC super simp, I found it too basic to truly engage me. But for people less familiar with the Robins, the game introduces them splendidly. The cast is far more limited than the Arkham games, and it doesn't explore anywhere near as far into the Batman mythos or Rogues Gallery. This I find a little inexcusable because of the ridiculously pointless and soul-destroying collectible hunt I'd shortly have to go on. As me and Plat Bro waved each other off to continue our adventures solo, a problem occurred. Cleanup in New Game Plus. The collectibles are annoying, like a younger sibling tattling to your mum because she found a bag of weed in your room, but they pale in comparison to the accumulative takedown trophies. There are several of these and some do pop relatively naturally, but most require some serious grinding. The problem is, specific enemy types are only available for short parts of the story, between certain case files. Such is the case for Kirk Langstrom's proud creations, the Man-Bats. Goddamn motherfucking Man-Bats. So these hairy bastards only surface after case file 7, but they're gone after you complete case file 8. This gives you a finite amount of time to take down the 10 required for the Man-Bat family bronzer. A trophy both Plat Bro and I missed because we got so caught up enjoying the story during our co-op shenanigans. Replaying nearly the entire story solo was not fun. Luckily, it was incredibly quick as I was fully suited up, totally modded out, and even more powerful than Superman. Why haven't we had a fucking Superman game? Give us a fucking Superman game, Warner Brothers, I swear to fucking God. I'll cry and tantrum and write angry emails and tweets. Sort it out, James Gunn. I had to redo all the security drones in order to fast travel, as that was the only element that didn't transcend to New Game Plus. A massive ball ache, but it had to be done or I'd waste hours just bouncing from objective to objective in a ridiculously oversized map. Various takedown trophies popped after they finally accumulated. I finished the super villain showdowns, ran all of the Batcycle races, unlocked every ability, and finally managed to polish off the final training exercise, which is only available at the end of the game. And I even knocked out the expert crime fighter Goldie for preventing a whopping 250 crimes. I worked through the DLC at this point too, but due to it being a finicky pain in my hairy backside, I gave up on it. But we'll get to that. The collectibles. Now, I should have taken care of the collectibles during my first playthrough, as Platbro wisely advised, but as I like to think I'm cleverer than everybody else, I ignored him like I usually do, much to my dismay. An hour later, with everything collected, the trophies all popped, one after another, until the platinum explodes on my screen. I am heir to the cowl. Which is cool and all, but 100 plats ago, I was the goddamn Batman. Talk about a fucking downgrade. It's like, this platinum is like evolution in reverse. The DLC problem. Now, with the platinum popped, I, like you may do, turned to the DLC, and this is where I really gave up on the game. Having gone through the entire DLC twice and popping most of the trophies, I was left with a few that just would not pop. At first, I thought this was because I did them in multiplayer and maybe other people in my team took out one or more of the specific enemies I was looking for. But after a third attempt done completely solo, I realised that it was just bugged to fuck. Free DLC is great as long as it fucking works. Be warned, do the DLC solo first to be sure of getting the hammer and icicle bronzer, or the it's nice to be wanted Silvo. The final trophy I missed was the element of surprise Silvo for breaking supercharged criminals using their elemental weakness against them. Another 2 to 3 hour grind, and having been locked out of 100% already, I just didn't care enough to do it. The DLC is simply waves of enemies you have to defeat on each floor to reach the elevator and move on to the next. There are 30 of these in each DLC. Gasp! Can it be? Boring, grindy, and actually a bit tricky, especially to do solo. I'm guessing the true completionists of you will be wanting to go for it, but the platinum hunters who pick and choose which DLC they do should probably avoid it. Review time! That was my Gotham Knights Platinum Adventure, and I had a mixed bag with it. I can't profess to love it because not only have I played much, much better games, I've played much, much better Batman games. The simple newbie-focused story isn't enough to enthrall most players. If you played the Arkham games and explored the mammoth amounts of lore hidden away in them, then this open world will feel empty, repetitive, and lacking the depth of its predecessors. The best way to describe this game in a comic book appropriate manner is that it's Jeff Johns trying to write like Alan Moore. It's like Adam West's Batman taking over from Christian Bale. For older gamers, there's just not enough here to get you submerged. For more experienced Batman fans, there is simply not enough here to entrance you into fully completing this game. It is, however, a vastly fun multiplayer game, and the co-op is delivered in a really simple and unintrusive way. It feels as if it was always designed to be a two-player game, and if you have a boosting bro, then I highly recommend you go with them because you'll have a great time together. Is it as good as Guardians of the Galaxy? Oh god, no. Is it better than Marvel's The Avengers? Without a fucking doubt. Despite the clunky combat and movement at the beginning, the modifications and upgrades you can find improve both dramatically. The bat cycle may be slow, boring, and entirely pointless, as the traversal skills of each character are far quicker and superior in every way. But the majority of my fun was had just bouncing around as Jay from rooftop to rooftop like an angry flying bunny. It may have taken me 3 attempts and over 6 months to finish, but overall I did have a relatively good time with it. My advice for you would be to work on collectibles and enemy takedowns as and when they become available. Single-player cleanup can, however, be pretty mind-numbing. Maybe have a playlist of a cool YouTuber you like, playing in the background, like this one from me. But clearing off everything as and when you can will help you avoid doing a full run in New Game Plus. And that was the most boring part of this Platinum Adventure for me. Ratings! So my scores for the Gotham Knights Platinum Trophy are... Time, 40 hours. Fun, 6 out of 10. Playthroughs, 2. Online, yes, but it actually makes the game better. Do I recommend? Well, if you are new to trophy hunting or Batman, then yes I do, as I feel Gotham Knights is a fun, enjoyable and interesting introduction to Batman's children. If you have a partner to platinum it with, then you will probably have a lot more fun. I did find the boss fights to be very enjoyable, although there aren't quite enough of them. Hopefully a sequel will bump up the Rogues Gallery. The open world is scarce and repetitive, but the platinum doesn't overdo it or waste your time to a drastic level. It is a reasonable grind for an open world game. I also find that the post-story grind is relative to the story length itself. It's not like God of War where you have a 20-hour story and then a fucking 30-hour fucking cleanup. If you're a die-hard fan of the Arkham series, then I do suggest giving this game a pass, as it's going to feel like going back to a kiddie's game. You might as well just play Peppa Pig. The only bugs I found in the game were all related to the DLC, and that is because I did them in co-op and other people got the trophies and I didn't, which sucks. So just be careful on that. Also be careful of any accumulative trophies before you finish any case files. That is everything you need to know before you try and platinum Gotham Knights. Are you going to go for it? Let me know in the comments. I'm Zach, she's Crew, ZXL. Be good to each other.
I am vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman!